And we are so excited to welcome to the podcast Leanne Watson-Charles.
Hello.
Hi, Leanne.
Hiya.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on. So give us an overview then. Who are you? What do you do?
So I am fundamentally, I'm a netballer. I've been playing since I was about 9 years old. And I always tell this story because my sister started playing it. She's a year older than me. And I always remember watching her play it. And I always remember the feeling I had was just like, oh my God, what is this game? This is the most amazing game in the world. And so I've always been in love with it since. So I've always played. And then when I came back from uni, I set up a club with a friend. So we've been going about 25 years. I now have been playing regional for about 10, 15 years. And I'd like to add I'm 47 and still going. And about COVID time, I decided to have a bit of change in my life. So I got a coach myself and I started strength training and fell in love with it and decided to become a personal trainer myself. And in that process, I noticed how strength training had a massive impact on my netball. And it wasn't initially why I did it, but I noticed how it changed how I played and how in my 40s I was getting better, but I was watching friends and players of my age start to drop out the sport. And so I was like, I need to share this message with the netballing world, and that just because you hit a certain age, you don't have to drop out the sport. You can keep playing. You can keep playing at high level. So I redirected my whole personal training business. So I'm now an online coach and I help netballers, mainly 30, 35 plus, to fuel themselves well, to strength train, to basically feel their very best, both on and off court, reduce their risk of injury. And yeah, but I also still coach netball. I still play. I umpire. I'm also the assistant coach for the under-19s Pulse Power. I'm also the Pulse Power strength and conditioning coach as well. So many strings to many bows, but all netball related.
Oh, I love this. So obviously me and Carla are very interested because we're both 50.
Hang on, just 1 minute. 44, actually. 44.
Oh, sorry, you just look older. So we are so interested to have any advice you can give us. I hardly ever do any strength training, and I know I need to be doing this because I creak when I get out of bed in the morning. Fueling myself, I definitely do that, but I'll be interested to know what your hints and tips are around that.
Yeah, so in terms of like strength training, I think a lot of women, when I first stopped talking to them, really have a negative view about the gym and going to the gym. They're very scared. They don't know how to use the equipment. They have this vision of it being gym bros, and they don't go in the, quote unquote men's area. And what you have to know is like strength and conditioning doesn't have to necessarily, or strength training doesn't have to necessarily start in the gym. You can do so much at home. I've got clients that have literally got a kettlebell and a couple of bands. And it's just doing things like that can really help and really make the difference towards you feeling better, keeping your muscle, growing your muscle, which is so important, particularly as we age and as we go through menopause as well, and keeping you as injury free. I mean, it's not bulletproof, but reducing your risk of injury on court is so incredibly important, because obviously when we get to our age, like, not only is it harder to recover from injury, and that's often the reason why people come out of the sport when you're older, but when you are, in your 30s, 40s, a woman, you're likely to have a job, you're likely to have children. And so you have responsibilities elsewhere. So getting injured, like doing your ACL or rolling your ankles, which means you can't drive your car, can really have a massive impact onto the rest of your life. And so I know women are starting to question whether playing netball is worth it, but then they have this other side of them and go, but netball is my thing, it's my release, it's my mental health and everything. And so there's come this internal battle. Whereas if you can just spare like 20 to 30 minutes twice a week, that's all you need as a minimum, it can really make a massive impact. And so we don't need to think about strength training as being this big thing where you have to spend hours in the gym several times a week. You can start off really, really small with some really basic exercises, with some very basic equipment, and it can make a real impact on your injury prevention and your play as well. So that's what I'd say about strength training, like lower the barrier of entry, because that's really important. In terms of nutrition and fueling yourself, when you're talking to women who are in their 30s and 40s and beyond, we're growing up in the 90s and have such, poor relationships, or what the media portray to us with body image and food and things like that. And we're really fighting against a lot of old diet culture mentality, and when we are athletes, and we are athletes, we can be in our 40s and not play for England and still consider ourselves as an athlete, because you absolutely are. Play any sport and you are an athlete. And so we need to break down some of the myths that we have around food, one being carbohydrates. And this whole thing about like no carbs before marbs and carbohydrates, quote unquote, make us fat. It's just not true. And knowing and understanding the roles of foods, from carbs helping us fuel ourselves, helping us perform and giving us our energy that we need. And then protein that also then helps us to recover, grow our muscles, fats that are helping us with our hormonal process. Again, when you're starting to go in your 30s and 40s and you're going through perimenopause, hormones are very important. So we need to have the food and the fuel in order to support all those processes within our body. So it's understanding the role of foods and how that can help with your performance. And I had a
I'm a
question.
little bit,
Go on,
Leanne,
sorry.
I'm a little bit disappointed you've not mentioned wine as yet.
Well, I'll have to tell you, I'm afraid, Chris, that I don't drink.
What?
I know, which is surprising. And if you knew me like 10, 20 years ago, you would have said what? But actually, going through the menopause, I was, I didn't like go out and drink a lot, but having a couple of glasses of wine, and what was happening is during the night, I was having hot sweats, I was having anxiety attacks, I was not having good sleep. And I would usually only drink Friday and Saturday anyway. And then what am I doing Saturday and Sunday? I'm waking up to play netball, and I noticed how, because of how it was making me feel overnight, I wasn't sleeping. And so my netball performance was dropping. And in the end, I went, do you know what? It's not worth it.
Leanne, you have to persist with it. It will get better, I promise. I've worked through that.
Can I just first acknowledge this comment about that we're athletes, because I think that is such a powerful message that every grassroots netball player should remember, or any sport, in fact. I mean, that is such a powerful takeaway, isn't it, from, if nothing else, from this particular episode of our podcast, that you're absolutely right. You just don't think of it in that context. I think that's such a good mindset for us all to have.
Yeah,
so thank you.
absolutely. Don't underestimate what you are doing when you're doing on court. You are still running, you are still jumping, you're still catching the ball, you're still defending, you're still contesting. You might not do it at the speed of what Australia can do or England can do, but you're still doing all those movements. And, it just, what we see, like when you look at the elite players and they are at the gym, so, England being in camp at the moment, and you see footage of them in the gym, if it's good for them and it's good for us, they don't do it because they're elite. They do it because they want to play the very best netball and keep themselves safe and strong. So if it's good for them, it's good for us. And we should see ourselves in the same light as what they do.
I also think it's important. I mean, what you talked about is obviously this is super relatable for most people in the same age bracket, in the same position. It's interesting, in our club, we've kind of got this mindset that you sort of hit 40 and then naturally start this spiral down. And we've almost created this pathway for our 40-plus-year-olds to follow, as if that's just the norm. It's okay, it's acceptable, almost preferable. And I think actually this whole sort of change in thought process is so important, because maybe that's wrong. Like, we're creating this spiral or this trajectory downwards just purely on the basis of someone's age. And I think, I'm club chair in our club. We've got loads of teams, loads of members, and we talk about it all the time. Like, oh yeah, they're 40, so they'll be going down the ranks, and their mindset will change. Now they'll just want to play for fun. And I'm including myself in that category. Actually, like, why do we think that way? Is it a societal sort of mindset that said, actually, this is how it is in sport? And obviously what you're saying by the sounds of it is that you're challenging that sort of change in people's thinking.
100%. Like I said, I'm 47 and I'm still playing regional netball. So I coached the under-19s at Pulse Power. And I know this season I'm going to come across some of those athletes. I'm going to have to play against them. And,
Are you going to enjoy taking them out?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I'll get a greater level of respect when they go, well, actually, she can play. And I always remind them, don't forget, I'm nice off court. I don't take any prisoners when I'm on court. I play to my very best. I am just as much as a competitor as any other girl or lady on court. I want to win, and I will win hard, and I will play hard.
Are you a defender?
Can you guess?
Yeah.
A goal defence that always wants to be goal attack. Yes, I'm one of them.
We've got a couple of them in our squad.
I think it's a mindset thing. Like when you say about the normal, I think that there is a lot of messaging that comes through the media about what happens to women in their 40s. And so it enters our subconscious that this is the path that we have to take. And I think it's up to every one of us that has a position of influence to remind people it doesn't have to be that way. And when you look at the normal person and the average person in this country is unfit. They don't do enough exercise. They overeat. They're overweight. They're in debt. And actually, I say, well, I won't swear, but to that, I don't want to be normal. And do you know what? I'm willing to put in the work to make sure that I'm not normal, because YOLO, you only live once. And that's not in the case of, sorry, Chris, you go out and drink as much wine as possible. But I want to make the life that I want to make as best as possible. And I don't want to, I always say this as well. I don't want to get to my 80s and have someone else wipe my bum because I'm not independent to be able to do it. So that's, another reason why I continue to strength train, to make sure I have my independence when I'm older. But I also want to be in my 80s and go, my goodness, look what I did with my life. I didn't let go of any opportunity. I didn't let age or my gender to get in the way of what I wanted to do. I did what I wanted to do and I worked damn hard to get it. And I think everyone needs to question themselves and think, am I doing what I want to do? Am I achieving what I want to achieve?
I couldn't agree with you more. And sorry, Carla, I'm interrupting. I play more netball now than I did 10 years ago. But 20 years ago, I was nearly 7 stone heavier than I am right now. So I didn't have that quality of life that I have now. And I agree with you, coming up to, the latter part of your years, you want to be enjoying as much as possible. So that's my goal now as well, to keep as fit and active as I can. I'm even playing mixed netball now. I would never have dreamed of doing that.
I want to get into that. I want to get into mixed netball.
So good.
They're amazing.
So good.
They're amazing. I don't know if you've been watching the England v Australia series in the mixed netball, because Sachel's the coach there, and she's obviously head coach at Pulse Power with me. And she's having so much fun with them as well. And I'm like, this is where I want to go into as well.
We've got one of the players that are playing there on our podcast next week.
Amazing.
And the one coming up.
The men are incredible. And I think because a lot of Super League players or Super League teams now are training against men's teams, aren't they? Because it gives you a different view of the sport and the agility and the how high they can jump and the acceleration they have definitely makes the women to think.
Yeah, that just the unorthodox nature of how they play, isn't it? The elevation. And,
they don't have the ingrained image of what netball is that we've had since we were a girl. They have a much more free view of it, and so they play very differently.
Noticed about my personality is I'm so much rougher with the men. Literally, I mean, last night when I was playing, there was a guy who's 6'3", 6'4", and I was holding him away from the net, and he was trying to push me, and I was like, "You are not getting past me." And I think he was a bit like, God, what do I do? Because she's a girl and I can't hurt her type thing. But I'm loving it. It's like, I think I'd sort of get rid of a little bit of my frustration.
One thing that I've noticed, Leanne, and I don't know if this is true for other people, but I always feel like as I've got older, there's quite a lot of pressure from the youngsters, obviously not directly from them, but almost that step aside mentality. My daughter plays netball and I'm obviously super keen to support her, but I felt like in my club, in the teams, that it's like now it's my time to step out the way, to let the space be created for them. And I don't really know where that comes from. Maybe it is a parent thing, maybe it is an age thing, but do other people say that much to you? Is that a more
No
common
one's ever said that
thread?
to me to my face, but I'm pretty sure that some of them may think that. And if they do, that's a them problem. It's not a me problem. Because at the moment, I've got the bib. So if you want my bib, you come and play better than me. Because at the moment, otherwise, because let's be honest, our coaches, especially when you're like more towards the regional, like the higher you up, it's a lot more about performance and winning. So if my coach didn't think I was performing and there was someone who was better than me, she'd take me off. I know she would, and she would have no qualms to. And you know, if that was true, she would be right to do. And I understand that as being a coach myself. But at the moment, I'm not being taken off. So if you want my bib, you come and fight for it, because I tell you what, I will be fighting for my bib. And I
Yeah.
just think like we can go back to what happened in SSN this season as well, of Casey Kapora. She had a lot of that from media and other netballers, and a lot of people were saying that it shouldn't have been her that came back as a 40-year-old into the Giants, because actually there's a whole Australian pathway and the opportunity should be given to them. And I'm like, the pressure in SSN as a coach must be the highest pressure you probably will get in netball. So if they thought that there was a better player through the pathway that would have been better than Katie Kapora, I'm pretty sure they would have been put in. But actually, they want the best player, so they put the best player on. So if the best player is in their 40s, or if the best player is 16 years old, you put the best player on. And actually, you shouldn't be discriminating against the age, because ultimately we want to win. And it's not fair also on the rest of the squad. Like when I look at my team, or when I'm making choices for my team, I'm trying to do what's best for the squad, and I always have netball reasons for that. And I'm going out there and I want to win. So I'm like, actually, I want this person on because of X, Y, and Z, and never has a reason being because of their age.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that. I mean, I team
Are
manage
you
our
listening,
first team.
Carla? So you've got to stop not letting me on court.
I team manage our regional team, our performance team, and I mean we've always been seen as quite a older team. Our average age is quite high, and I just see it as a massive benefit. I mean, we've got really experienced players that can come up against whatever challenge is thrown at them. Not to say we don't make space for it, but
experience counts for a lot. Like there's a local team that I play for. They are a regional league team, but I don't play for their regional side. But they also play, their regional team also play local league. It's a bit complicated. And I play local league with them. And they've had many comments from teams. I remember playing for them during the summer league, and we were playing a particular team, and a couple of the players in that team told them that they were too old, because we were all in our 40s and 50s, and we were too old and we shouldn't be playing anymore. We should give up, blah, blah. What did we do? We beat them.
yeah,
We won.
absolutely.
So like
With a stick?
yes, yeah. With the netball post. But no, we won the game. So I'm like, you've got no answer to that.
Speaks volumes.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that.
You talk to us a little bit about menopause and your thoughts around that. I mean, how is that impacting the game? How have you had much experience from people contacting you for help? Do people drop out at that point? What's your experience?
Yeah, I think a lot of people. So I talk to a lot of ladies, and many of my clients are perimenopausal. And you know, the biggest impact that perimenopause can do on all areas of life, not just in terms of netball or anything like that. And it's the symptoms, and treating, what I tend to do with my clients is treat them all as individuals, because some people can breeze through menopause and it's not an issue, whereas other people can often have a lot of symptoms, from brain fog to hot sweats to low moods, etc., etc. I mean, there's so many symptoms on the menopause, and it's great that in the media it's getting spoken about a lot more. But what I tend to do with my clients, and I talk about, is that the importance of strength training is, well, strength training is important for everyone of every age. But as you get older, the importance just becomes that little bit more. Same with, eating well. The, research shows us that the best kind of diet for menopause to help with symptoms and things like that is a Mediterranean style diet. So if you're struggling with symptoms, looking at a Mediterranean style diet is one of the best things that you can do. And whilst there are, lots of things out there about menopause, research also shows us that exercise, strength training, and diet are undisputedly the best things that you can do to help manage your symptoms. And one of the most, as a coach, that I'm an evidence-based coach. I have qualifications behind me to show that that's what I do. What really annoys me when I go on, I spend a lot of time on Instagram. That's where I promote my business. That's how I talk to people, etc. And you can go on Instagram and you can see so much information that is totally wild and totally false, directed at what actually is a vulnerable group of women through the menopause who are so desperate to feel like their old selves again, and they get thrown various supplements and programs and things like that, that no wonder so many women are really confused about what it is that they need to do. So the first thing I would say, if you have suspicions that you are going through perimenopause, then do talk to your doctor about what options. I would never say you should or you should not take HRT. That's an individual decision and it's way out of my scope as a coach. So do go and talk to your doctor about that. But there are things that, you can do to help yourself in terms of lifestyle that will help ease those symptoms. And fundamentally, are the basics: managing your stress, sleeping, reducing alcohol. Sorry, Chris. That Mediterranean style diet, strength training, getting out and walking, getting your steps done, doing things like that to build generally a healthy lifestyle is the first port of call that you want to do alongside whatever the doctor can do with you to help with your menopause symptoms. And it's tackling those symptoms, and everyone can be different as to what symptoms they're feeling and what it is that you need support with. And I think what is really good, like England Netball have the Netball Her campaign, so that's really good, getting that message out. And there's so many things that they talk about as well, from bras to menopause to puberty, etc. And having netball behind you, and this is why it's so important that women don't drop out of the sport, not only for the the exercises and that, but actually what netball gives us is a community, a sense of community, a sense of friendship, a sense of sisterhood that you just don't get, I don't think, anywhere else in life. And I think it's really important that women can come together and have those open conversations. I often go and talk to schools and talk to girls about their periods and how periods can affect their netball and how to deal with it. And I always tell girls, or clubs as well, I always tell the girls, be open with each other, talk to each other about what your period is like for you, because everyone will be different. And then you can support each other and understand. And I think we need to do that as older women and show the way by talking about menopause and being open with it, and talking about our periods, and talking about if you have a heavy flow or it really hurts, or so, I really suffer with my periods. And so I will go to netball and I will talk to my players about it. And I'm not, it's no longer do we see blue liquid on an advert. We do bleed red blood, not blue liquid. And I think it's really important that we are open about that with everyone. And I think the netball community coming together as a bunch of women is really important and can be part of that. And I think we should encourage it and almost take advantage of it.
I've got to say, it's really scary because I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago when I knew I was perimenopausal, and it didn't come to light, even though I had lots of the symptoms, didn't really know what it was. But until I was going to Spain and I nearly attacked a woman for sitting in my seat because I couldn't control my emotions, and I nearly got thrown off the plane. And at that point, I thought, something's not quite right. And when I got back, I was obviously put onto HRT, and, don't get me wrong, I still want to kill people every now and again, but it's calmed down. It's not as bad.
I was screaming in my kids' faces. And I'm actually really quite a calm individual, except on the netball court, but I'm generally quite calm. I don't like controversy. I don't like arguments or anything like that. And I found I was right in, and my kids were young, they're only 9 and 6 now. And so this was a couple of years ago, I was in their faces screaming at them. And it was almost like having that out of body experience, like looking at me going, what are you doing? This is not you at all. And even then, when I got to the doctor, I had to fight to demonstrate that what I was experiencing was true. And, I think HRT would have helped me. But again, it's helped me, but, this is not medical advice. You go and talk to your doctor, what's good for you as an individual. Yeah.
I think I was very lucky with the doctor I got. It was a female doctor and she actually knew what she was talking about. It's hit and miss, isn't it? Not everybody gets a positive experience.
Yeah, mine was a female doctor and I had to tell her about hormones and, you know, how they are and etc. Yeah.
I experienced surgical menopause after having surgery 4 years ago.
I remember
And I
hearing
think
about your story, Carla. It's quite
Yeah, I think
horrific.
it's very different. Everyone's in a very different situation, aren't they? For me, that I didn't know it was coming. I didn't have any kind of warnings. I didn't have the whole period that I think most people have where they lead up to the process. So yeah, I think everyone you speak to will be able to tell a different version and story. For me, my biggest experience was everyone focused so much on the physical side of surgery and being poorly that actually there was no room left for anything else. There was no room left for the impact it had on you mentally or the menopause outcome. It was just the physical surgery and physical health parts of it. So I struggled with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's different.
And I think as well, like coming to that when you come into surgical menopause, and I've worked with women who've been through similar. And I think if it was the other way around and a man was having a similar surgery, he would not be walking out the hospital without some testosterone.
Yeah,
No, you're
absolutely.
The other way around.
Well, I was actually given testosterone because, excuse me, because my levels were so low. But then they took it off me not that long ago because of obviously the way the NHS is and
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah, and mine are incredibly low, and my doctor refuses to give me some.
Crazy world. I heard from your advice about the Mediterranean diet. I mean, I'm taking from that we should move to Italy. So I'm just going to note that down.
Well, Italian netball is up and coming, so we'll still have netball out there. We could be one of the best players, surely.
Leanne, we're going to have to bring this to a close. As much as I could talk to you all day, I think you're absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
We really appreciate you coming on. Honestly, I think we've all learned something and I'm very sure our listeners will be engaged and listening and interacting with us. So thank you. It's such an important topic.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. It's my pleasure for being invited on. I love you guys.
Thank you. And we will definitely see you soon when we come down to Surrey, because I'm sure we'll do a netball tour around that area one day and we'll come and whip your ass.
Yeah.
See you on court.
Thank you, Leanne.